Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. So we'll do some chanting. Usually when we do the kirtan, we're starting out with the pranati, Prabhupada pranati. Does everyone have a songbook? Sorry, they're over here. So it's on page number 4, and we'll do a call and response. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Darine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pramanande, Haribo.
So thank you very much, devotees, for being here. Let me check the time real quick. Okay. So this Maha Mantra is the prime benediction for humanity at large. And when we chant together, it becomes more and more sweet. So thank you, everybody, for doing this chanting. So KB was going to give the class, but let me see here. We can chant a little japa for a little bit. Do you think that you'd like to give the class now? Okay. Okay. Okay then. So. Okay. Right. Okay then. So we'll speak a little bit on Bhagavad Gita, and I can just sit here for now, if that's okay with you all. We'll do some kirtan just at 5 p.m. We'll go for it. We'll do a little discussion on Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll do some more kirtan. So let me sit here. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay. So, uh, so usually, oh, this is, it's okay. I think this one's okay. Um, this with the Gita. Yeah, you can. Okay. So we'll start with the introduction mantras. That's how we're usually doing the Gita discussions. And we're going to pass those out. Usually, uh, so Prabhupada, whenever he was here on the planet with us, then in the temples, he was asking that all the devotees participate in morning and evening discussion on the literature classes. And in one letter, he asked that all the initiated disciples they strive for that. And what's wonderful is that there's kind of a different mood presented in the different literatures, like Srimad Bhagavatam. We get certain kind of flavors, certain, of course, certain pastimes and narrations are there. And Bhagavad Gita is a little bit different. And usually Bhagavad Gita would be studied in the evening and Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning. So in general, we keep that. And it's described that this sweet song is very calming to the mind. And if we end the day or in the evening time, we hear from this Bhagavad Gita, then it's very nice and soothing. So let's do that. Usually when we're doing that, the Bhagavad Gita discussion, we start with the introduction mantras. So we can chant that together. And that's found on page number 1. This is a very nice set of mantras. And you can practice this when you're going to read Bhagavad Gita or when you do the classes side by side. You can pull this out. And if we're not already sharing it on the screen, on the Zoom calls or whatever, and you can, if you join the live classes, then you can read along. So it's sung in different meters. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do it exactly, but we'll just try. So let's go. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayang Rupa Kadamayang Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Nata Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very nice. So then I ask for blessings from all the assembled devotees, and let us actually jump in. So what's interesting about Krishna Katha, or speaking the topics about Krishna, is that everybody gets a benefit. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's quite a bit of verses which discuss the potency of topics about Krishna. Actually, there's a lot of really cool verses about that in particular. And I would have liked to share some of those with you, but we'll save that for some other time when I know them. But when we are with the devotees, we end up picking up some different things here and there. So I'll share you what I've learned, what I've heard. And the basic principle is that when we hear with the proper attitude, if a sincere person hears with the proper attitude from the proper person, then that knowledge or that type of hearing about Krishna is supremely purifying. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to find a person who can help us by imparting that transcendental knowledge to us. We are also trying to simultaneously become sincere in our own desires for spiritual life. And we're also trying to develop the proper attitude and submissively receive the knowledge which is imparted. So what's wonderful is that in the arena of Krishna consciousness, we are practicing Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga system, which is described by Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And yoga is a topic which is popular nowadays, but in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and then we will hear why Bhakti Yoga is specifically focused on in Hare Krishna temples by Srila Prabhupada, by the Acharyas. And so today's session will be more or less, I'll be kind of jumping topics and we'll be kind of flowing through the Bhagavad Gita. And if anyone has them, then you can also jump with me and we'll chant certain verses. Someday in the future, maybe we'll be able to do it on the TV, but basically we need somebody else to do that. Anyway, we'll prepare next time better. Anyway, so let's jump in. Chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita, has a few topics, and specifically they're touching on the mind is brought up and different forms of yoga. And as I mentioned, chapter 6, text 47, Krishna gives his direct opinion. Chapter 6, text 47. So this is a very famous verse. And so let's go there. It's on page 341 in the smaller Bhagavad Gita book. And you can find it using the index or the page or the chapter and text at the top of the book. It's near the binding. Okay, here we go. So we'll chant it in unison. Yoginam api sarvesham adgaten antaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam samyukta tamo mataha. Translation. And of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Okay, so in this purport, we will read the word bhajate. And if anybody wants to read the purport along with, that's fine. I like it. Purport. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhaj, which is used when there is need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaja. Worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshiping a respectable man or a demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. The Bhagavatam confirms this as follows. Ya esham purusham sakshad atma prabhavam ishwaram na bhajantya vyavjananti stanad brashta patantyadaha. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. In this verse, also the word bhajanti is used. Therefore, bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to demigods or to any other common living entity. The word avajananti, or avajananti, yes, used in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is also found in the Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti mamudha. Only the fools and rascals deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and the word worship. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in bhakti yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of bhakti in bhakti yoga. Yoga actually means bhakti yoga. All other yogas are progressions toward the destination of bhakti yoga. From the beginning of karma yoga to the end of bhakti yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma yoga without fruit of results is the beginning of this path. When karma yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called jnana yoga. When jnana yoga increases in meditation on the super soul by different physical processes and the mind is on him, it is called ashtanga yoga. And when one surpasses the ashtanga yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, it is called bhakti yoga, the culmination. Factually, bhakti yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze bhakti yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name: karma yogi, jnana yogi, or dhyana yogi, raja yogi, hatha yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of bhakti yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all the other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga, just as when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's largest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. It is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of bhakti yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shama Sundara, who is as beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower garlanded. Illuminating all sides is his gorgeous luster, which is called the Brahmajyoti. He incarnates in different forms, such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he descends like a human being as the son of Mother Yashoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully Krishna conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. This stage of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by bhakti yoga, as is confirmed in all Vedic literature. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tatha guru yasyaite katita yarta prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith, both in both the Lord and the spiritual master, are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Bhakti rasya bhajanam tadhi hamutropadhi nairasyena mushmin manakalpanam etad eva naishkarmyam. Bhakti means devotional service to the Lord, which is free from desire for material profit, either in this life or in the next. Devoid of such inclinations, one should fully absorb the mind in the Supreme. That is the purpose of Naishkarmya. These are some of the means for performance of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of the yoga system. Okay, so there was an analogy here. Does anybody remember what nature analogy Prabhupada gave in the purport? Anybody recall? The Himalayas. Nice. So the Himalayas is a whole range. What is the highest peak? Mount Everest. So that's the material side, and the spiritual was saying that yoga is like the mountain range, right? But there's a peak of that mountain range, which is which yoga? Bhakti yoga, right? So bhakti, we should come to the point of bhakti in bhakti yoga. I thought that was interesting how Prabhupada, he said, all other yogas are but means to come to the point of bhakti in bhakti yoga. So that we're interested in performing some activity, some action, which is bhakti, and we do so in bhakti yoga. So yoga means union or connection, and it's described like a ladder. That's another analogy, that the yoga system is like a ladder. And Prabhupada gave, there's different steps. When one develops more knowledge, there's the first step may be, we'll go back here. He says, this is page 342. From the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self-realization. So Prabhupada gives some pit stops along the way. Karma Yoga, without fruitive results, is the beginning of this path. Right? So when we act with detachment from the results, then we can begin this practice of karma yoga. And when this path increases in knowledge and renunciation, then we can actually reach what's called jnana yoga. And then Prabhupada says that from there, when it increases in meditation on the super soul, then it's called Ashtanga Yoga. So these are the different stages. So progressively, we're taking more and more knowledge by studying the words of Krishna. And when we perform devotional service, we dovetail our activities in the service of the Lord, then automatically we gain knowledge and renunciation. But the Bhakti Yoga is unique because what's amazing is that the devotee of Krishna, he gives the highest path immediately. And he doesn't say, he doesn't necessarily have to elevate one progressively. In one sense, one can start making the most rapid progress from day one. Of course, we understand that anybody who contacts devotional service has actually done so in the past. So, but yoga is a type of cultivation which happens over some time, but by the mercy of the spiritual master, one can automatically make further progress without having to do the regulative principles. So what's very amazing is that ordinarily one has to do the basic steps like Krishna describes in chapter 6, that one has to be completely free from sex life. So one has to practice celibacy as a prerequisite to practicing the yoga system in the traditional sense. And one has to go to a secluded place and then perform austerities of different types. And he may have to do charity and different things like this to purify the mind and to make further progress. And this is step by step by step. One can take all these processes, but if one comes in contact with the authorized devotees of Lord Krishna, like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Bhakti Yogis, then we can see very practically, without doing any of those things, I was also able to worship the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, immediately. So I'm already performing Bhakti Yoga by the grace of the devotees of Krishna. And on the strength of their association, I'm able to make advancement using the topmost yoga system without having to perform any of the prerequisite requirements for the yoga system. And this is what's so wonderful, is that this movement is meant to spread the rays of the benediction moon. There's some prayers from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they're very important for us to know. The first of which discusses the glories of the Sankirtan movement, which is the congregational propagation of the holy name of God, of Krishna, and also the glories of God, including his form, which Prabhupada was describing in the purport, his various names, his various activities and associates. Prabhupada basically was glorifying Krishna on that supremely personal platform in the purport. And the Sankirtan movement is all about spreading the glories, not of God devoid of form and name and activities, but spread the glories of Krishna. That this is a person, God is a title that applies to a person, and I want to know about that person. So the Sankirtan movement, and specifically ISKCON, is meant for spreading the glories of Krishna. And we can find, if anybody has some time, you can look. There's 7 purposes of ISKCON, which have been nicely put on the board in the foyer with the shoes. And you can read those. And actually it's very encouraging, because Prabhupada was very deliberate, and he's carrying on the tradition from Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's coming to us. And by their grace, we're performing the topmost yoga. And it's said that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it said by performing devotional service, as I mentioned before, we get causeless knowledge and detachment. So any of those things which are impediments on the path of devotional service are being destroyed just by hearing the glories of the Lord and chanting his holy names. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this Krishna Katha, this bhakti yoga process, which includes 9 specific, categories, starting with hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna or Vishnu. It's so wonderful because everybody gets a chance to benefit. Like, there's a speaker, and the speaker may be trying to share what he has learned from his guru in the authorized disciplic succession. And that person is doing so for purification. Similarly, the persons who hear such topics are also hearing for their purification. Or the persons that are inquiring are also inquiring for their purification. And the persons who are hearing as more or less bystanders are also being purified too. So this bhakti yoga process is the most wonderful of the yoga processes, and we're very fortunate. Prabhupada makes that point in the purport, and we should consider ourselves very fortunate to have this opportunity. And I was thinking about gratitude, appreciation, and Gary and I were also speaking about something which kind of sparked my mind. Like, we naturally love to appreciate things, and whatever we are appreciating, our mind is gravitating towards those things. So like, I may really appreciate sleeping, so my mind is actually gravitating towards sleeping. And Krishna describes whatever your mind is gravitating to, then we become attached to it. That's mentioned in chapter 2. And so we can go there, the next part of the exploration. Chapter 2 is a summary. And in the end of chapter 2, there's this progression that's given by Krishna. And so you can find this on chapter 2, text 62. Okay. So we can chant this verse together. Dhyato vishayan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. We can do the next one too. Text 63. Krodhat bhavati sangmoha sangmohat smriti vibramaha smriti bramsha bodhi nasho bodhi nasha pranashyati. So the translation 62 and 63. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. From anger, delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So we have to endeavor to control the mind, because when our mind, we're naturally we appreciate things. Why do we appreciate things? Because actually that quality is found within Krishna. And because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we also appreciate. And depending on what mode of nature we're influenced by, we have different appreciations. So if we're in a mode of ignorance, we may mostly appreciate sleep or intoxication. And if we're tinged by the modes of passion and ignorance, we have some appreciation for intense endeavor for material pleasure, you know, hard work for a material gain, characterized at the end by sex pleasure and attainment of name, fame, and adoration, things like that. And then mode of goodness, one has appreciation for the more pure things in life, knowledge, poetry, sweet music, or also nature, these types of things one may have an attraction. Krishna discusses in the Bhagavad Gita approximately 100 verses dealing with the three modes of material nature. Out of 700 verses, 100 deal with the modes of nature. So this is quite a large percentage of the book, which is, or the conversation, which is dedicated to the topic. And we have to, as sadhakas, as practitioners, we have to learn the art of utilizing the best of the three modes, which is mode of goodness. This is discussed in Bhagavad Gita and also in the Nectar of Instruction, where in the preface to that, Sukham kartumavyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So we get direct perception of the self by realization. So we realize personally when we serve Krishna, we will become convinced by that practice that Krishna is there and he was pleased by my activities, my endeavor to serve him. So thank you everybody for continually making your endeavors. It's very inspiring and it's very important that we do this good work. This is the most important welfare work. To serve Krishna is the most important welfare work. And in this age, the prime sacrifice or the prime activity that we do is to glorify the Lord by chanting his holy names and to spread his glories through primarily Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So if anybody wants to come to do chanting, we do so throughout the week in our temples. So you can come any day and you can chant Hare Krishna with the devotees. And you can perform that process. You can also do so in your own home with your own family. You can chant Hare Krishna together. It's very important. And additionally, you can read these Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam with others. You can also spread these books. If anybody's interested to perform book distribution, then we can build that enthusiasm within our community, and we can arrange some festivals, some opportunity for everybody to take part in those activities. And there's nobody that's barred from doing this. Everybody has this opportunity to purchase some books and to go and spread them to your friends, and you can ask for donation, and you can chant the holy name wherever you go, in the supermarket, in the car. So if we do this, then we'll be doing the highest welfare work at all times in all places, and that's the work. So thank you, everybody. Now we can have a few comments and questions for 5 minutes. Gary Prabhu, please take the microphone.
So you were saying that if we chant and then also worship the deities like an arti or something like that, that solidifies the chanting, or when we're doing our japa, that solidifies the effects. Did I hear you correctly on that?
Yes. So Prabhupada describes there's 2 tracks of the train. Our bhakti yoga process or our spiritual life is maintained flying smoothly across the landscape on 2 tracks, one of which is called Pancharatrika Vidhi, or the process which has been elucidated by Narada Muni on how to worship the deity in the temple. And additionally, there's the Bhagavad Vidhi, which is the process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna in particular. So when we perform our activities in relation to the deity, such as offering prasadam to Krishna, we can do that even in our own homes. If anybody wants to learn, we can describe more and more. And we do so, we try to match the highest standard here in the temple with Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. And if we learn how to associate with the deity, then which starts by coming to the temple or by installing a temple in our own home, then we can give support to our hearing and chanting about his glories, because we are in the material conception of life, and that conception can be applied in one sense to the form of Krishna, because we think, hey, here's Jagannath Das. I see him because there's his body. I don't see him, this whole spirit soul, but I see his body, and I say that's him. Just like we see the president driving in the fancy bulletproof car. We say, there's the president, right? So we identify the person with the form, mostly. That's how we operate in the material conception. What's amazing is that Krishna decides in the Arch of Vigraha, in the deity form, he decides to personally present himself in a form which we can see with our material senses, but that form is himself. Unlike the chair, or unlike myself, I am a spirit soul who's residing within this body. This body is my dress. My dress is actually not my person, like myself. It's external. But Krishna's form in the deity and the temple is not different than him, his very self. So when we come and we associate with him in the deity form, then we're able to build that personal relationship. So that was a long answer. Maybe, was it okay? So let me see what time it is. Another devotee like to share something or maybe ask a question? Or yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for a wonderful class. I really like the deity worship explanation. Thank you. The verse 263 that we read earlier, it says that from anger comes delusion, and from delusion is bewilderment of memory. And I've always had a hard time distinguishing between that line between what is delusion exactly compared to bewildering memory.
So let's take a look real quick. 263, and let's see there. Now, these things happen pretty quick. Has anybody ever become angry? Right? Very quickly, something happens, you know. So it's a fast progression. So it's natural that it's hard to make the clear distinction. But the delusion means that more or less we become forgetful of our transcendental position as a spirit soul. Delusion, illusion, and then we become. Then from there we forget what is, proper action, or we forget those lessons that we've learned about. How the last time we became angry, we did something which was not beneficial, and we forget all that. And all of a sudden, we forget what's right and wrong, forget how to guide the mind by the intelligence. And then we do something which is very base and ignorant, So I would say that delusion it's called sangmohat, and that's a forgetfulness of our eternal position as a servant of Krishna, and we think we're the body. Okay, so thank you, devotees. Now we'll do some more kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Oh, you want me to do it there? Oh, I thought we did it there. Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale. So I'm sit down. 15 minutes. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Oh, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. All right, everybody chant really loud together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now we can all head on over to the altar and be a part of the arati ceremony. And someone else can lead the kirtan.
Navitatavane Jagamanalo Janavitatavane Jagamanalova. Daki meditaita Bame gadadara Ikate adeta shini Vasa chatradara Bose Atse Gorachan Radna Simhasane Harati Koren Brahman Ari Devagane Nara Hari Hari Kori Samaradulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Koshari Gaya Sangabate Gantabate Bate Karatala Madura Mridanga Bade Paramarasala Banka baje, ganta baje, madur, madur, madur baje. Banka baje, ganta baje, madur, madur, madur baje. Madur, madur, madur baje. Madur, madur, madur baje. Tanka baje, ganta baje. Madur, madur, madur baje. Koti Chandra Jini Badana Ujala Kala de Sevana Mala Kore Dala Mala Shiva Sukana Rada Preme Gara Gara Wakati Vinora Deke Gorara Sapara Urangira Rodika Soba Jagaja Nirmana Loba Urangira Rodika Soba Jagaja Nirmana Loba Orangera Rodiko Soba, Jagajan Hermana Loba. Jagajan Hermana Loba. Jagajan Hermana Loba. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Devi Sesa Sunavari Pastatya Desutarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunara Kundri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. I think someone else.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prayavaradaine. Hiranyakashipu Rakshaha. Shriyatanka Nakalaye Ito Nusingha Parato Nusingho Yato Yato Yami Tato Nusingha Pai Nusingho Hridaye Nusingho Narasingha Madhum Sharanam Prapade Tavakara Kamalavare Naka Abhuta Shringa Talita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Lord Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki.
Hare Krishna. Shri Gaura Purnima Mahotsava ki jai. So tomorrow we're starting here 5 p.m. Gaura Purnima. Haribo. It's going to be ecstatic. Please, everybody come. It's going to be a wonderful celebration, and you'll get a lot of blessings from Lord Chaitanya. So we had initiation yesterday. Bhakta Jio formally got initiated. Now his name is Jagannath Prabhu. Haribo. Congratulations. So tonight is a wonderful night, special night. It's Sunday. We're all here together. And that's pretty much all I got here. If you would like to help with some service tomorrow, if you have time to come early, let me know. And we can try to engage you in some preparations for Gaura Purnima festival. There's a lot of things to do. So let me know if you have some time. Hare Krishna. All right, so let's line up for prasadam. And please enjoy the wonderful prasadam dinner. Hare Krishna. Shadi. Huh? No, not today. Sharira Vijaja Jojanjaita Hika Kive Fule Visai Sagade Tara Midrajiwa Ati Loba Moisa Dermati Take Chita Katina Sangsade Krishna Varadayama Karivara Jivaja Swaprasadana Dilaba Sayana Mritapal Radha Krishna Gunaga Primidago